Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz has finally come to fruition. And with a Jake Paul win, no less, by unanimous judges' decision, and I think it was fair. I don't think anyone is saying, oh, it was rigged or anything like that. I watched the fight, and Jake clearly outboxed Nate Diaz. But really, shouldn't that kind of be expected? Jake Paul has been training in the discipline of boxing for the last few years. And he's had several boxing matches, professional boxing matches, mind you. Meanwhile, Nate Diaz has been a mixed martial artist, able to use his feet and ground game and knees and elbows and everything else for the past 20-something years of his career. It should have kind of been expected, except that a lot of people, I think, don't quite respect Jake Paul's abilities yet. And I mean, that's fair. That's fair that some people still don't consider him a boxer. He's an influencer. He's a celebrity, what have you, and he's jumping into this sport that a lot of people say he has no business jumping into. But I feel like when I watched last night's fight, Jake Paul is putting some serious work into this. And I've been seeing this over the past couple fights that he's had. Even with his fight with an actual boxer in Tommy Fury, you could see that he's getting better as a boxer. Like, he's not just a YouTube boxer anymore. He's not just a influencer. The man's a boxer. I mean, there's no doubt about it now. And last night, that was showcased 100%. You could see that he's really working on his craft. Now, he is fighting, as I said, someone who is not proficient in the discipline of boxing as a sport. So, of course, he's going to look better and more crisp at that sport when fighting someone that is not part of it. But if you just compare Jake Paul's performances from fight to fight up to this one, he's now 7-1. You can see him getting better at boxing. Not just fighting, not just grit, not just outlasting, whatever. Like, specifically boxing skills. He was landing some punches last night that I didn't expect. I didn't expect for him to land so many left hooks. He's always been known for his right hand power. But he was throwing some serious left hooks last night, some great uppercuts, and he was moving around like a boxer in that ring. And so I was really, really impressed with Jake Paul, the boxer, last night. However, I was also very impressed by Nate Diaz. I mean, I was almost a little worried in the first round because Jake had a flurry of punches and it looked like Nate was just like overwhelmed. And I was like, no way is he going to knock out Nate Diaz. Like, Nate Diaz has never been knocked out. Never been knocked out. So to be knocked out by Jake Paul would be not only embarrassing, but just kind of like, just kind of rough, right? Like, that would be like, it would be sad to see. Nate Diaz is a beast. Nate Diaz is a dog. And anyone who knows anything about fighting, and I'm not saying that I do, but you don't have to know a lot about fighting to know that Nate Diaz is one of the most respected names in the sport. And one of his biggest attributes is that he can take a lot of punishment. He can outlast people, and he can outwork people over time. That's one reason this bout was scheduled for 10 rounds instead of 8. It was his camp who insisted on a longer bout because they're assuming that Nate would rally in the later rounds, as he does a lot in MMA. He just, he can just keep taking a beating, and the man bleeds very easily. He has a lot of scar tissue, and his face just opens up really easily. You see, most of Nate Diaz's fights that have lasted, into the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, you could see the man is covered in blood. He's had fights stopped because of blood loss, more so, than anything else. He doesn't get knocked out, but they might give them the TKO because of a bad cut. Now, what was so impressive last night with Nate Diaz is that he was in good spirits all the way to the end of the fight. Like, he never got flustered. He's been in this fight game so long that it was all just fun for him. Even though he was losing on points, he understood. This is not my sport. This is boxing. I'm up here boxing, and I'm collecting a huge-ass paycheck just to be in here, having fun, doing what I do, which is fight. And he loves to fight. That's the thing about him. He's like the type that will take on all comers. He'll fight anybody that challenges him. He has no problem taking that fight because he loves it. He loves the martial arts. He loves to go toe-to-toe, and he always wants to fight the best and really test himself. And so it's actually should be quite a point of pride for Jake Paul that Nate Diaz took this fight with him. Now, I get it. It is a big payday. It's a big payday, and it looks like there might be an even bigger payday in the future. But it's also, I think, just that warrior mentality. Like, he wants to fight the best of the best, and he wants to fight anyone who challenges him, and he did just that last night. Stepping out of his comfort zone, going to a boxing ring, his first ever professional boxing fight, and he lasted all 10 rounds. No, he didn't win. He lost on points, but dude, he was still taunting Jake in the last few rounds. He was still like making jokes. And if you listen to Jake Paul's podcast that he did right after the fight, you'll see that he was taunting him in his ear the whole time too. And this is just the guy's personality. He'll keep coming at you. He'll keep talking shit. He'll keep dancing around. Like, he did not look bothered by anything. Even though he was losing technically, he was having fun out there throwing punches. And I'm telling you, in the last few rounds, I would say he won one, maybe 2 of those rounds overall out of the 10 rounds. But he had some serious flurries in the last couple rounds where it looked like, man, if this fight went on a couple more rounds, Nate Diaz might have done what Nate Diaz does best and just outlast until the other person is outgassed, takes him out that way. Yeah, so what's next? First of all, I really enjoyed this fight. Like, I watched it from beginning to end. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more out of Nate Diaz because I feel like he has a lot more. I don't know what that's about. Is it just is it the age difference? Is it the size difference? I know they were, the same weight for this bout. They're about the same height, but you could just clearly see how much more muscle Jake Paul has on him. They just standing next to each other, you're seeing like, man, they don't look like they're the same weight. But I would have liked to see a little more out of him, but I did enjoy it. Like I said, it was like he was up. It was like he didn't care that much about winning it. It was just about doing it, like being in the fight. And yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed the bout. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And I was happy to see Jake Paul win, honestly. After the loss to Tommy Fury, I'm glad to see him win. Now, do I want him to see... Do I want to see him fight actual boxers? Yes. As much as anyone. I want to see him actually test himself against real boxers. And especially after, taking the L to Tommy Fury, it's... Of course we want to see that. But I also get what he's doing. This is where the money's at. Everyone wanted to see this fight. Everyone wanted to see him and Nate Diaz throw down. And everyone got to see it, and they paid a hefty price for it. So I feel like it's a win for everybody. And the biggest thing is what's next, right? Jake Paul, when asked what's next, yes, they've been talking for the longest time about, yes, they do this boxing match, and then maybe they'll do an MMA match after this. Do an MMA, Jake's first MMA fight after this. And, who knows how long down the road that would be, but it looks like it probably is going to happen. I think everyone wants to see it. I think most people believe that Nate Diaz will do to Jake Paul what Jake Paul did to him in boxing. We'll see Nate Diaz do to him in the octagon. And I don't doubt that for 1 second. I really don't. Now, Jake Paul, a lot of people will be like, oh, he's a boxer. He's just going to get dominated. I don't know if he'll get dominated because Jake Paul does have wrestling skills. Like, that is his background. Before he was ever a boxer, he was a high school wrestler and fairly proficient at it. Him and his brother both. And so he does have some general, takedown defense skills, probably some grappling skills, and interesting. It'd be interesting to see. Now, does he have like the jiu-jitsu skills? Does he have the kicks like Nate Diaz? No, he doesn't, and that's something he would have to work on, and I'd be interested to see that. But he said that to prepare for something like that, he'd probably need 8 or 9 months of preparation just to basically learn kicks, right? Kicks and ground defense. And that sounds reasonable. I honestly, if it were me, I would take even more time. I have a wrestling background as well. I feel like even if I was a proficient boxer, I would need even more time to learn some jiu-jitsu, some just how to throw kicks generally, and how to fight mixed martial arts. I mean, that's actually a short time when it comes to when you think about it like that. But with the 8 to 9 months of training, plus the fact that Jake Paul said that he wants to take a little break because he's been going nonstop, and the guy has. He fought Tommy Fury earlier this year, and then takes on Nate Diaz, just a little bit past the half point of the year. We're in August now. I think he's probably going to take the rest of the year at least off. And he should. He's been going hard. He's been in training camp after training camp. Had his tough loss to Tommy Fury this year. And I do feel like it's a well-earned break. Now, so I would say that at least gives us 3 or 4 months of him taking some sort of break. But who knows? He could back out of that. But 3 or 4 months and then 8 to 9 months. So I think we're looking at least a year before we see this MMA fight in an octagon take place. I really think it's going to be at least a year. So, don't get your hopes up to get this fight anytime soon. I think Nate has a clear advantage when that comes to pass, much like Jake had the clear advantage in this bout. But like I said, I was impressed with Jake's improvement overall as a boxer. He's really honing his skills as a boxer. And I think it's pretty undeniable that he has boxing skills. Like, he's a pretty good boxer. Even though he took the loss to Tommy Fury, I think that's the next thing people want to see is a rematch with them. And then for him to, like everyone says, to start fighting some actual boxers. But I get it, man. Where's the money? Where is the money? That's where Jake Paul's going. It makes total sense that is where he is going. So, yeah. We will see what happens next. I hope the rematch happens in the octagon, and I hope the rematch with Tommy Fury happens. Who knows how long that will be before that happens. But Jake Paul's a young guy, man. If he wants to, he's got a long career ahead of him. So I'm excited to see what's next for him. All right. Now my favorite part. I want to hear what you guys thought of the fight. Let me know in the comments below. Or if you're listening in podcast format, please hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at RealBrettScott and leave your comments over there or DM me. Let's talk about it. I love talking this stuff. I want to interact with you guys. Let me know what you thought of the fight. Did you think it was fair? Did it end as expected? Did you win any money on the fight? Let me know. And if you enjoy this sort of thing where I talk entertainment, pop culture, that sort of thing, then please subscribe to the channel or favorite or follow Daily BS Podcast. And if you do decide to stick around, then I'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks.